In this forecast, we'll be breaking down a massive winter storm that'll impact over 25 states, causing huge problems across the country. I will give you the latest breakdown on who will see snow and how much snow you'll see. But let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today, beginning with the Northeast, who is actually dealing with a winter storm of their own. There's been a bunch of snow that has already fallen from Ohio back through New York. This system will continue to track out to the Northeast, eventually bring additional snowfall to those in New England over the next 48 hours. On the other hand, we are watching a very weak low pressure system back over west of the Rocky Mountains. Now, why are we watching this? Well, this is the system that's going to bring a big winter storm from Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado all the way back through New England over the next several days, bringing the potential for upwards of a foot of snow in some locations. Now, in terms of precipitation, there is a bunch of snow falling back up in New England, from Maine all the way back through Pennsylvania. Some areas could see upwards of 6 to 10 inches of snow over the next 24 hours. There's also rain extending with this system all the way back through Florida, so the East Coast is getting hammered by a mix of rain and as well as snow, again, back up in New England. Back over on the western half of the United States, as I said before, there is a low pressure system that is very weak. You don't really see much precipitation at all out of this, but this thing is going to blow up over the next several days, and as we go into Monday and Tuesday, you can just see how this low pressure system explodes with all types of weather, including snow, a mix of rain and snow, rain, as well as even the potential for severe weather for those back down in the south and southeast. Eventually going to Wednesday and Thursday, that low pressure system will race off to the north and east, bringing some snow as well back up into New England. Now, in terms of the watches and warnings right now, there are winter weather advisories extending from anywhere in Indiana all the way back through Maine. Winter storm warnings are in effect for a few locations in Massachusetts, southern Vermont, New York, New Hampshire, as well as Maine, and there are even a couple back over in Ohio and southeastern portions of Indiana. Now, for the next 24 to 48 hours, there will be a continuation of snow across New England. Now, the rain and snow line will be very, very sharp, so if you're just to the north of this, you're likely going to see several inches of snow. If you're just to the south of this rain and snow line by tomorrow morning, there will likely be more rain than snow. It might be a slushy snow for you if you get any transition into snow going into Monday. By late Monday morning and even into the early afternoon hours, that rain and snow line will shift to the east as that low pressure system shifts offshore. There will be additional snowfall totals, maybe between a coating to 3 inches in some areas. But again, I would expect it to be very slushy if you're back over in eastern Massachusetts or even into Rhode Island or Connecticut. In terms of snowfall totals over the next 24 to 48 hours, there will be a decent amount of snow in parts of Massachusetts. Boston could see upwards of 1 to 3. Back over northwest sections of Massachusetts could actually get upwards of maybe 6 to 10 inches of snow when this is all said and done. Northern New England, we'll be talking about a much more significant area of snow. All the way from Maine into Vermont, there will be a pretty large swath that will see upwards of 6 to 10 inches of snow when this is all said and done. Now, the southern plains will be dealing with a beast of their own when it comes to a winter storm. This will all begin Tuesday morning as a low pressure system will strengthen in the southern plains. So beginning with around 7 a.m. on Tuesday, it'll be a cold rain for central and north Texas, while there is going to be snow ongoing back through the Texas Panhandle. By about lunchtime, the snow will move more off to the north and east, bringing some heavy snow to areas back over in areas like Wichita Falls, north central Texas, and back through southwest sections of Oklahoma. Eventually going into the late afternoon and evening hours, this trough will move off to the east. That is where it'll be centered, so anything on the north and west side of this will have some snow because the temperatures will just be cold enough for mostly just snow. Back on the east half, there will be a potential for severe weather along with a lot of rain that could actually equivalent to some isolated flash flooding. Going through the later half of Tuesday into Wednesday morning, this low pressure system will race off to the north and east. Areas like Oklahoma and Texas will likely clear out going into Wednesday. Now, in terms of snowfall totals, you may be shocked when you see this. The NAM model has been showing upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snow from north central Texas all the way back through Missouri. However, there is a huge thing that the computer models have not been picking up, and that is the surface temperatures. There's going to be a big deal with this because it's just been such an above average January. The surface is already warm to begin with, but in addition to that, the surface temperatures are currently forecasted to be somewhere between 32 to 34 degrees from central Oklahoma all the way back through northern sections of Texas. What this basically means is that snow will be harder harder to accumulate on surface and especially the roadways, so this will cause an issue for accumulation to actually happen. I would expect though for snowfall totals to be about half of what they're showing here, so at least 3 to 6 inches would be a bit more of a realistic range for those in those purple and pink areas. Back through the blues, you maybe see a coating upwards of an inch or two. It's going to be a little bit less, I think personally, just due to the fact the surface temperatures are not going to be cold enough for accumulation, at least significant accumulation at this time initially. It'll take a while for cumulative snow to happen. Back through the Ohio Valley as well as the Mississippi Valley, this winter storm will continue to move off to the northeast going into Tuesday morning. This will bring additional snowfall to those in Illinois, Indiana, and as well as Ohio, eventually going through Wednesday afternoon and into the evening hours. That low pressure system races off to the north and east, and by Thursday there will only be a little bit of flurries or light snow remaining across those areas. Snowfall totals being estimated by the computer models here, still indicating a range of 1 to about 6 inches. Back through Ohio has a better chance of 3 to 6 inches at this time, but again, we're a little bit early on complete estimates and whatnot, but we'll keep you posted with any new details as they come. Now, there will be a possibility for severe weather going into Tuesday. There's currently a slight risk for severe weather from Louisiana all the way back through Alabama. Marginal threat goes all the way back through southeast Texas. I would not be surprised if that area does grow a little bit. A tornado threat does seem to be the main concern, along with some damaging winds as well. Going into late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, that low pressure system will start to move off to the east. We'll probably see some severe storms, especially near the Gulf Coast, where instability will be a little bit higher. A very strong low-level jet will make it easier for some of these storms to rotate, so we very well could see some severe weather out of this. Going into Wednesday morning, storms will move off to the east. We may see a slight risk of severe weather as well for those in Georgia and South Carolina going into Wednesday, but for right now, I would at least expect some showers and storms going into Wednesday and eventually going into Thursday. Cooler weather will arrive along with storm action moving off to the east. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, when is Springuary gonna end? Because it's literally felt like spring for a large chunk of the United States over the last several weeks. Well, there is a possibility for an Arctic blast as we head into next week, but for this week, there will be colder weather across the southern and central plains on the back end of this low pressure system here. That is that winter storm that I've been talking about in this forecast. But eventually, as we go into next weekend, there could be an Arctic blast that impacts the northern half of the country. This would usher in colder air, potentially bring wind chills as low as the -20s and 30s. And eventually going into early next week, that is when this Arctic blast will impact most likely New England as well as the northern plains. Now, there are some question marks on whether this will go further south or if it'll kind of go a bit more in a east-southeast direction, which would basically mean that we'd see colder air in the northern half of the country in comparison to seeing any of that cold air in the southern half of the country, but we will keep you updated with any new details as they come. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.